Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you are all well on this Thursday evening, and welcome to the Midrand Providence of South Africa here at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. My name is David Wrestler, and on behalf of SIMSPORT Racing, Sim Racing Hub International, and Pole Position Racing, we are here to bring you the final round of the Clash of the Communities Championship. It's been a fantastic first 3 weeks of racing, and like I say, we're going to be finalising this with a fantastic show for you ahead of this evening. I'm very pleased to be joined in the commentary box by none other than esteemed SRHI member Aaron van Drunen. Aaron, good evening. It's not something that you guys and SRHI unfortunately have a chance of winning, it looks like, tonight. We'll come to the points in a minute, but how are you feeling ahead of tonight? You excited?
Yeah, hi, good evening. Well, we still have a chance. Never give up. I'm pretty excited for this race. I hope we're doing well, and it's a pleasure to be with you guys on the commentary booth today.
Absolutely, yeah. Should be a cracker tonight. Like I say, we've had 3 fantastic races at Bathurst, Donington, and one in the middle, which escapes me, Mazzano. That was the one. That was your one, wasn't it, Aaron? I'm so sorry, I've forgotten that one of all of them. But yeah, it has. Fortunately for us, it's actually gone down to the final race. Like you say, there is potential for, as far as I can tell, without having to get my calculator out and do too many strenuous things on a Thursday evening, there is potentially a chance of any one of the 3 communities racing this evening to win. However, it is very, very close at the top. SimSport Racing on 596 points. Pole Position Racing on 593. And then SRHI, of course, a little bit further down on 414, but with points ranging from 50 all the way down to 1 for all 30 drivers on the grid, Aaron, like you said, anyone can win this one, can't we?
Yeah, well, something bad needs to happen with SRR and PPR, so it always can happen. You never know. Disconnections can happen. You never know. Well, we just here to enjoy it and hope to provide a good race today.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we're going to get one. The amount of times I've seen Kyalami Grand Prix circuit over the last couple of weeks, I know for a fact it is going to bring out some fantastic racing. And I was on the commentary team for the evening at Bathurst just 3 or 4 weeks ago. Sorry, that SimSport Racing hosted, and that was a fantastic one as well. I've managed to catch a lot of the other ones as well, so I know that we're going to be in for a fantastic evening's worth of racing. It'll be a 20-minute qualifying session. That will be getting underway in just a couple of minutes' time. And then it'll be a 75-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. Now, there's no need to pit for tyres, so it is very much just a splash and dash, as it were. And I mean, I'm sure you'll agree, Aaron. We've seen some pretty interesting strategies, and I don't think that's going to be any different this evening, is it, with the pit stops?
No, it definitely isn't. Because this pit stop is the pit lane is quite short. It takes you 18 seconds to drive through. A quick splash and dash will cost you about 25 seconds, and if you change your tires, it will cost you 56 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly not something I can imagine most of them doing. I think everyone's probably quite confident that their tyres will last the 75-minute session. So hopefully we'll see a range of different strategies, and as you can see, the guys are all out onto qualifying. There's quite a few of them out at the moment. For those of you who haven't come across the stream before, welcome along. And if you're watching on either SSR's YouTube page, if you're watching on SRHI's YouTube stream, then welcome. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. Big welcome to Aaron Walker, who says good luck to all the guys in the chat at the moment. But if you've never watched it before, first things first, make sure that you like and subscribe to both of the channels. So go and find whichever one you're not on and go and do that. And for those of you who aren't aware, then the numbers, as you can see down the timing tower on the left-hand side, have been colour-coded to give you that helping hand in terms of who they are. So you've got the red ones, so all of the ones in red, so Dave Hedges, Chris Pinchbeck, Dean Riley, to name a few, are the SimSport Racing crew. The silver ones, courtesy of Sem Sprenkelink, who's currently on track at the moment on our cameras, are from SRHI. And then those in white, so Adam Chilmivsky, Debon, Cody Pride, for example, are all from PPR. But 18 minutes left of qualifying. Aaron, it's a good track. Obviously, we're looking probably about a 138, high 138s, below 139s. If you had to pick a community, I won't get you to name a driver because there's quite a few of them on the track. If you were to pick a community, who are you feeling is would have reason to be quite confident going into this one tonight?
Well, yeah, the usual suspects. We got George Bootby for SRHI. He's in a Ferrari. My guess is the Porsche and the Lambo are the favorite cars here. Um, Cody Pride, he is fast. He's in a Bentley, a different car again. I guess he drove 4 different cars in this championship. Niels van der Koekold, very fast guy in the Lambo, a contender for pole position, if I need to guess.
Absolutely. So it should be, yeah, obviously we're going to see some fantastic racing regardless. We saw SIMSPORT going a little bit sideways going through one of the sweeping right-handers there onto his flying lap, so he'll have to abort and drop back in. But
he just is looking for the track limits.
Absolutely, and especially in that Porsche when you're on low fuel, any significant amount of liftoff can generate so much oversteer, can't it? It can make the corners like that such a pain to get through. But yeah, you mentioned obviously people running in different cars. I think with SimSport, most of them, from what I can see, are sticking to the cars they've driven in the last couple of races. I know that some of the communities have elected to change. See, there's no mandation around the cars that people have to run. The only thing they have to do, of course, Aaron, is they have to run a different car across every single member of the community. So if you see a Bentley, for example, like you say, if we look at Cody Pride and we look at, did you see another Bentley? Mark Neutelings, for example, both from different communities. So it's a really good chance for everyone to get a feel of different cars. And we're seeing some really interesting results at the back of it as well, aren't we?
Yeah. It's the best drivers will come on top, and I'm wondering to see which manufacturer will be on top, and I like it how it goes this way.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be, like you say, it gives everyone a chance, and it really kind of levels out the playing field. Of course, like I say, we saw Bathurst, where you'd expect someone like the McLaren's going to be quite quick around there. The Lamborghini, the Lexus was quite quick around there as well, of course. And we went to Misano, where, of course, we know the Ferrari is quick, especially in the hands of George Boothby.
Yeah, exactly.
We know how quick he is. I'm 99% sure it's one of his. It's if not not the favourite of his tracks on the Assetto Corsa Competizione selection. And then Donington, obviously a fairly newer track, but again, it's something that will suit the McLaren and potentially even the Porsche as well. So plenty of scale across all the tracks, and it means that we've been really subject to some fantastic racing. And at the moment, as you can see, the timings, Aaron, are pretty close over the first 5 minutes, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they're still warming up the tires, warming up the car. The fastest lap will come later at the qualifying. The track will be more grippy at the end. So I guess those who run to the end of the qualifying will set the fastest laps. But yeah, I've been wrong before, so
that's all right. Part of being a commentator is getting stuff wrong 99% of the time, so I wouldn't worry too much. Broadcast director Steve Proudley's done it enough as well. I'm sure he'll agree with me, though you won't be able to hear him this evening. He's going to be manning the cameras and will be doing a fantastic job of it as always. As you see Niels van der Kelt go over for PPR Esports in the Lamborghini with a 140.2. 4.5 tenths, Aaron, off of who you expected to be towards the top of the pile, which is George Boothby. He's at 139.7 so far. That's going to be that's a decent lap so far, considering we're this early into the session, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I just don't know how he does these crazy fast laps each time. I just can't imagine how.
It's he's I suppose what you would call in the sim racing world is a bit of an alien.
Yeah,
it's probably fair to say in the nicest way possible. And if you do want to keep an eye on the timers this evening throughout the rest of this qualifying session and throughout the 75-minute race coming up as well, then make sure you head to pitwall.live and search for SimSport Solutions, and you can see all of the timings from the server will be in there as well, and it gives you a really good idea as to how things are going on, and you can also select certain drivers and see where they are as well, and it's a really good way of managing where people are on the track as well. But with 13 minutes left to qualifying, it's still George Boothby top of the timing charts. We've got Niels van der Kelt closely followed by Joe McCauley, and then Aaron Martin Pilkington in fourth, Dean Riley in sixth, Lucas Rommel in sixth, Kim Vidago, Rich Smith, Adam Chmielski and Sem Spenkling currently rounding out the top 10. But as you mentioned, Aaron, this track is going to continue to evolve. It's already in optimum status, but I think we're safe to say that these laps are going to continue to improve, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. And maybe a little fun factor. We're running it now. The time is 6 p.m. The sun will go down, and we have in turn 6 it calls sunset. And, people will will notice the sun goes down in a corner because it will blind you. It's just going down the horizon and it definitely will blind you. So I'm curious to know how it will go in the race.
Absolutely, yeah, it's going to be something to keep an eye out for sure, and it's certainly an appropriately named corner, as there's quite a few amusing corner names, as I suppose you could say, as we see Joe McCauley currently running into the Crocodiles down towards the back end of the track, as he then follows through to kind of sweep into the fast right-hander for Cheetah, and then Ingwe at the end to see one of the SRHI guys getting out of the way there. I think that's one of the Hondas by the looks of it. So he's managed to get out of the way nice and quickly. He's 3/10 up at the moment, so it's going to be a pretty good lap from Joe McCauley. Wonder if he can get a little bit more time. Doesn't, gets a 1:39.9, and that is a very good time, and not too far off of that time from George Boothby, Aaron. So it's not necessarily untouchable at the moment, is it?
No, not yet, but he's the... I believe after Boothby, he will be the quickest guy on the track. You see, Riley is already 2/10 up.
Oh. Very good lap from Dean Riley there. Yeah, we'll go 3/10 up with 40.1. So yeah, getting closer. Niels van der Kelt now coming out the final corner. He's 3/10 up, so we'll see how close he gets to that eventual pole sitting time. Currently, if George Boothby goes quicker than Joe McCauley and immediately dives off to the inside. Rich Smith coming over the line. He goes quicker as well by the looks of it. He's now 3/10 back off of George's current pole time. So it's definitely, they're getting closer, but they're not quite getting across it at the moment. But of course, still just under 11 minutes to go. And like you said, this track's going to continue to evolve. So I'd expect those times to get even closer / even lower over the next sort of 10 and a half minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And the temperature, well, it won't fall down. Because cold temperatures, of course, make you faster, but I don't think this will be an issue today. There's barely a wind, so it's all in favors today for the drivers. Pretty good conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not too much wind. Only 1 kilometre wind, 17 degrees track temperature. Van Duk up on his time at the moment as he comes down through Mineshaft into the Crocodiles towards the end of this lap, running in the Aston Martin for SRHI this evening, the number 20 machine. He's closely following, I think that's Simon Wilkes in the Bentley for SIMSPORT ahead of him, who's currently sitting in 7th on the timing charts. But the number 20 is in 20th at the moment as he comes into Ingwe on his flying lap. We'll see what the time will be as he crosses the line. In the I dare I say, the beautiful orange SRHI liveried car. There's a very nice burnt orange on that one as he comes across. Improves by a few tenths, but not quite enough at the moment. Only puts him up to 19th in the end, because a couple of guys improving as well. And yeah, it's very, very close, isn't it, Aaron? The top 10 separated by just under a second. And even if you go past that, if you look down to Adam Banfield in the PPR number 15 Ferrari, he's still within a second and a quarter, really. So there's going to be some great competition, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. And the midfield, the whole championship is close. So the top 5, they are close too. But I think the real battles will be at the mid-pack today.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like you say, I think you can see there's some quick guys in here, of course. If you look down the first sort of 4 or 5, you can see these guys are quick. They're obviously comfortable with the car. I know that quite a few of these guys from SimSport specifically did drive in the RCI 24 Hours of Kyalami just a few weeks ago. So we're going to have a couple of those who are probably going to be quite familiar with the circuit as well. But it's certainly looking close. And of course, with 3 points separating them, and as I mentioned earlier, the points running all the way from 50 points for first place all the way down to 1 for finishing 30th and last position. There's certainly enough time for this to change, Aaron, and I don't think it's going to be one of those we're really going to know the answer to who's going to win this championship until probably the last couple of minutes, if even that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's still close. So I'm quite curious to know. It's a tense battle for today. And I'm really eager to know who will come up at top.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Kyalami being a track that is going to promote overtaking, there's a good number of overtaking spots if you can get the run right. Of course, you've got down the main straight into the first couple of corners, you've got the kink, and then you go into Crowthorne, which is technically classed as turn number 2, even though it's barely registered as a corner for the first one, which is appropriately called the kink. And of course, as you come out through Lee Cop down the hill, as Sam Spenkelink is doing at the moment, through Mineshaft into the Crocodiles, there's definitely some chance for overtaking as well. I mean, it is one of those, Aaron, where there is enough enough chances to make a move, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. At the second corner, Crowthorne, you can try to outbrake your opponent, and the rest of the track, you just need to line up your car and get ready for the next turn, and there you can overtake. So pretty much everywhere you can make an overtake. At Leeuwkop, it's an English word for Lion's Head. It's turn 10. You can see some overtaking over there. And even at Sunset, but you need to be brave over there.
Yeah, it certainly requires a certain level of confidence to make the move through Sunset, doesn't it? Of course, if you can get the outside line, which I was fortunate enough to commentate on a Porsche Cayman Cup a couple of weeks ago in ACC, and that was exactly what happened. And there were so many people who very, very bravely made the move around Sunset, and of course that sets you up into the left-hander at Clubhouse. So if you can get the run out of Barbecue, there's so many amusing names around this track, isn't there? If you can get a run, if you can get close at Crowthorne down into the braking zone, like you say, you can run through the Jux K sweep and through Barbecue and then get a good run out of there. Like you say, there's definitely a chance, although it's probably not going to be the road most travelled, there is a chance to make a move around that sweeping right-hander. So put it this way, for everyone watching, have a look at the timing boards, and of course we'll run you through the grid when the qualifying finishes in a moment anyway, but don't expect it to stay the same. That's all I'll say at this moment in time. As you see, George Boothby still sitting top of the timing chart. It looks like Niels van der Kikot has gone slightly quicker in the last couple of moments, only barely though, with Joe McCauley, Rich Smith and Dean Riley rounding out the top 5. Adam Chmielski in the PPR. Number 16, Aston Martin machine is running around Leekop at the moment, but does abort that lap and lets the Bentley teammate of him run through. Kern Scepter here in the number 21 SRHI Lamborghini. He's 2/10 up at the moment, so that will shift him potentially above James Warren. And there's kind of a gap there, Aaron, where you can see if you look at 17th up to 16th, there's a couple of tenths in there. So there's definitely positions to be gained here.
Yeah.
If you can get a couple of tenths, you're moving up the leaderboard. But if he can get another couple of tenths through these last couple of corners, he could be shifting himself right up the grid for this evening's race, couldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, a little bit too much. Kern Scepter.
Yeah, he won't get it quicker by doing that though.
No.
You see Dave Hedges coming down the hill towards Mineshaft in the number 30 SimSport Racing Porsche 911. He's 3/10 up at the moment, so again he's going to put himself above Dave Jr. by the looks of it. Again, obviously we'll see what his lap time will be as he crosses the line in a moment or so. He has got one of his teammates in front, and that's probably, look at he went a little bit wide through the crocodiles there, and it's maybe going to abort his lap. Who still looks to be putting the pedal to the metal. He's behind Kieran Vidaga, I think that was, in the number 33 Ferrari. So we're wondering if he can get a bit of a tow up the hill and into that. He's going to cross the line. We'll see whether his time does improve. I imagine it's maybe going to improve a little bit, but no, he's just about. In fact, no, it was better, but unfortunately, as expected, because he went wide at the crocodiles there, Aaron, it does invalidate the lap. And that's, of course, something these guys have got to be very careful of, isn't it?
Yeah, you really need to be careful over there. You almost can flip your car.
Absolutely. James Warren, there you see, going 10th with a fantastic 140.7, sorry. Puts himself within 9/10 of still our provisional pole sitter, George Boothby. I did see him going onto a flying lap just before, so we'll wait to see if his time changes over the next minute or so. But it's certainly looking close at the top at the moment. You can see all the way down to 17th, separated by a second and a quarter, as you see Eric de Bon going up the back straight. I suppose you call it a back straight into Sunset in the AMG Mercedes, the number 12 car for PPR. Certainly one to keep a lookout for. The Mercedes got a fair bit of grunt in a straight line. Not necessarily the easiest one to manage in the corners, but with the right setup, you can get it around this place pretty quickly. He's got one of his PPR teammates behind him in the form of one of the Porsches. You can quite catch exactly what that was. It's James Warren, isn't it? Yeah. Yep. Still trying to re-familiarise myself with the numbers and the colours as well, which is useful for everyone, but not useful when you're trying to talk through something as well. Sem Schwenkeling now coming up the hill up towards Leekop. He's a 10th up, so that's going to put him just about into the top 10 if he can continue on. We've got 3 minutes left of qualifying, Aaron. Still plenty of time for this to change, isn't there?
Yeah, well, some of the guys probably will warm up the tyres and go for the last 2 flying laps. Because the tires are at optimum if they are a couple of laps old, more grippy. So maybe we can see some improvements. Some of the guys already are at the maximum, so Sam's Sam will improve. Probably go behind Cody Pride. Oh,
very good lap in the end. Managed to get a big improvement out of that final corner, didn't he? Managed to gain a couple of attempts. Zimmerman going faster as well. Where's he going to sit? He just about goes quicker on that one. Doesn't massively improve by the looks of it. Puts himself up into 13th, and you can see the spread across the field is incredible. And really do. Cody Pride coming into the last couple of corners. Gets a little bit out of shape going into his Cheetah there. I thought, saw him catch a little bit of curb there on the entry in towards Cheetah, and unfortunately will have aborted that lap. But he's fortunately got enough time to put in one. Potentially, he's probably got a chance to put in 2 laps. He's got the fuel in there, so we'll see whether he manages to do that. But at the moment, George Boothby, as you expected, Aaron, is still sitting pretty at the top of the timing charts, and he's got a teammate of his from the SRHI GT3 Championship in Niels van der Kelt in very close company at the moment. You can see a minute and a half left of qualifying. Regan Mitchell coming into going to Ingwe with the final corner, 2 tenths up at the moment. That will put him above Wout Vervoort in the number 13. Lexus ahead of him, but he's lost a bit of time there. Looked like a little bit squirmy coming out of the final corner, and as a result manages to improve his time, but not by enough. He's still a 10.5 back of Vervoort at the moment. And you can see, go on, I'm sorry.
He needs to get his momentum on and go all out for this last lap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he can improve.
Fantastic camera work here by Steve Proudly, by the way, giving us the timing chart in the bottom left-hand corner and some on-track action in the top left, bottom right, top left. Yeah, I think I've got my my bearings anyway. But you know what I mean. If you should know, everyone watching should know their left and right by now. 40 seconds left of qualifying, as you see. Cody Pride 2 tenths up going through mineshaft. Just noticed Simon Zimmerman's managed to improve as well. He's gone a couple of tenths quicker and up a couple of positions up the grid as well. As you see, one of the BMWs from SRHI very sensibly getting out of the way of Cody, who's still a couple of tenths up, getting the same again, gets a little bit on the curve going in towards Cheetah, but he manages to hold on to it this time. Coming into Ingwe, the final corner, he's got another car in front of him. I think that's one of the Aston Martins. Oh, it's the Porsche of James Warren in front of him. He's got 3 tenths though. What is his time going to put him? Puts him up to 8th in the end, and that's a fantastic lap right at the death there, and it's put him right up into the thick of things, Aaron. And Yannick Valendut now 4 tenths up. You mentioned the time is getting quicker. The timing chart has now hit 0, so everyone is on their final lap now. A couple of people still in the pits, but Yannick's one of those who is certainly with a chance of shifting himself right up the grid, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's improving, so I'm hoping he will improve his position, and you just need to go all out.
Absolutely. Still 4 tenths up at the moment. He goes into Ingwe for the final time. It's going to put him up into the top 15 if he continues to improve on that time by the looks of it. It's certainly going to be a good one regardless. He's 5 tenths up at the moment, so it's just about going to puts him into 14th in the end. 3 thousandths of a second ahead of the Ferrari of Kieran Vidago. My word, that was close to the end. Looks like George Boothby did actually improve on his lap in the end as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what you mentioned, Aaron, certainly happened, and he's set a bit of a statement coming into the final race this evening, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I really hope he can finish this race, because he had 3 DNFs, and it cost us a lot of points. So, George, you better stay in this race.
You heard it here first, George. If you're listening, make sure you don't disconnect. I think in quite a few races I've seen, I think I've watched him in at least 3 or 4 now, and I think there's only one I've seen him in where he didn't actually disconnect, and that one, appropriately, he won at Mazzano. So he certainly got the pace. He's clearly a quick guy, and like you say, just needs to hopefully rid of some of those technical gremlins, I suppose you'd call them, and he'll be hoping for a nice clean run into Crowthorne for the first lap, and I can only assume he'll build from there. But there is quite a few quick people behind him, so it's not by any means going to be plain sailing for him.
No, he really needs to watch out in his mirrors for Niels van der Koekold for the first laps. Joe, he's really, really fast. And then we got Rich Schmidt in the Honda.
Yeah, two Hondas up at the top. Yeah, Joe McCauley and Rich Smith 3rd and 4th in the Hondas. The next Honda down is Not in this. Oh yeah, sorry, it's Joris Everleens. He's down in 17th. But yeah, those two from PPR and SimSport certainly dragging that Honda around very nicely, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a hard car to drive. But you see the rear engine cars, the Lambo, the Ferrari, the Honda, really setting the pace today.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see, yeah, two Lamborghinis in the top 10, two Astons, got a Porsche in there, got a Ferrari, got a Lexus and a Bentley, all in the top 10. So there's a decent mix in there. Interesting to see. I know the McLarens can normally be quite quick in these sorts of tracks, but interestingly to see the highest one of them is Lucas Rommel in the number 14 machine. He's going to be starting 11th. We'll run you through the grid in a moment once the drivers get underway for their formation lap. But it's going to be really interesting to see, Aaron, how the strategies pay out. If you were in the position, if you were one of those guys who was out there on track this evening, what would your position be? You'd want to try and pit early and try and get out of traffic, perhaps, or would you be one of those who try and run it as long as possible into the race and then a quick splash and dash at the end? What would your thoughts be?
Well, I definitely would go for a dash and splash, and it's just it's how you feel in the race. If you think you are faster than the guy ahead and you can't pass him, I will definitely go and pit early and hoping not to hit traffic and just run my own race and hopefully do a big undercut.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, differing fuel tanks in the cars this evening. If I'm not mistaken, you may correct me if I'm wrong on this, Aaron, because you probably know more about this than I do. But I'm pretty sure the Bentley's got the biggest tank, and then I think it's it's one of the Porsche or something like that that's got the smaller one. So we'll see. Most of them should be able to complete this race, but of course, like we say, fueling is mandatory in that pit stop. They have to do. Tires aren't, so they don't necessarily have to do anything with them, but they do have to refuel. So it's going to be interesting to see how these strategies play out. And like you say, it could be very much dependent on how the first few laps go. We might see, if anything does go Pete Tong for any of these guys, we might see some early pit stops and, like you say, just try and run their own race and try and pick up positions on a very, very big undercut rather.
Exactly. Yeah. Some guys just prefer to drive to the very last 10 minutes. And guys like me, I just like to pit early. And well, at least I'm not one of the fastest guys, so it doesn't matter really where I pit. Just I will probably end at the back, so that doesn't matter.
It's all right. If you're not a fast driver, that's why they drag you into the commentary booth. Yeah. I'm speaking from experience. Don't you worry.
I got tricked into this, so.
It'd be good fun regardless. Trust me, these races from what I've seen have been fantastic so far. So we'll be in for a brilliant one this evening. As you can see, George Boothby leading the cars away. Cody Pride in the pits we're hearing, unfortunately. So we'll try and understand exactly what's happened there. Maybe he's not readied up in time and not hit that drive button in time. He's effectively going to have to sit in the pits until these guys disappear off into the distance. But run you through the order. So it's George Boothby sitting top and he's going to be leading them off from pole position. Niels van der Kokel in second, Joe McCauley in third, closely followed by Rich Smith. A third row of Dean Riley and Adam Chmielewski, Sem Spenkelink and Simon Wilkes rounding out the fourth row. And Cody Pride, or it was Cody Pride, it looks like Aaron Martin Pilkington and Lucas Rommel would technically be rounding out the top 10. As you can see there, you've got Cody Pride with a little P next to his name. That's telling you that he's in the pits. Simon Zimmerman, Eric de Bon, James Warren, and Yannick Valenduk rounding out the top 15. Kieran Vidago, Joris Evelins, Adam Banfield, Wout Vervoort and Regan Mitchell, the top 20. As you round out the final 10 cars on the grid, Kern Septer, Luke Walker, Dave Jr., Dave Hedges, Chris Pinchbeck, Adam Mizailovic, Mark Neutlings and Nard Cox round out the grid. And we're looking forward to, Aaron, what is going to be, I think, a pretty decent race indeed. I'm sure we're going to be in for a good one.
Yeah, no doubt it will be a good one. The fast guys, well respected guys to each other, so you don't see much of crazy overtakes and dive bombs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, certainly going to be one for the racecraft this evening. Good evening to everyone who's watching in the relevant chats across the SRHI and SSR streams. So good evening to Aaron Walker again, Benjamin Simmers, SRHI TV, who are aware that they're now streaming on both the SimSport Solutions and SRHI streams, which have just figured out. Chris Hill, Jean Pinchbeck, of course, the mother of Chris Pinchbeck, who's starting a little bit further down the grid, but she'll always show her support for her man, which is good to see. And then Oliver Anderson on the SRHI stream as well. So fantastic. Thank you all for stopping by. If you enjoy the race, of course, or even if you just enjoy the idle chit chat that Aaron and I have this evening, then make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to both the channels throughout this evening. And bring your attention to the little orange one on the screen on the left hand side of the timing tower. As you see, they file into double file now, and George takes his position at the front of this train. That one is telling you, for those of you who aren't aware, that they still have their mandatory pit stop to be done. So as soon as they've done that, as soon as they get in and out of that pits, you will see that will change to green. So it's a good indicator as to some of the strategies we're seeing. But going to be a good one, isn't it, Aaron? I mean, like you say, we've got some very fast and very courteous drivers in this field as well. Hopefully we'll get a nice clean run into the first corner.
Yeah, well, just aim for the braking point and this should be fine.
Absolutely. Spoken like a true racer. Aim for the braking point and you'll be absolutely fine. But George Boothby
Close your eyes.
Absolutely. George Boothby rounds us through Ingwe to end off the formation lap. And we're going to be going green, green, green here at Kyalami in the final race of this Clash of Communities Championship. It is very much between PPR and SSR for the championship, but SRHI will be doing their level best to try and change things as Niels van der Kelt manages to get in front of George Boothby off the line, manages to catch him snapping as they go into Crowthorns for the first time. Looks like everyone's made it through there with relative cleanliness. And we're running up the hill. As you always see, Joe McCauley, he's dropped right the way down the field. And you can see, I think that's Adam Chmielski in the Aston Martin as well. 2 PPR guys getting caught up early doors, Aaron. And that has given advantage straight off the bat to SSR, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, he took my advice to spin in the first corner, so very glad he did.
As long as he hit his braking marker, Aaron, that's absolutely fine. You see, Niels van der Kelt has got ahead of George Boothby as they're running through Sunset and into Clubhouse for the first time, going through the S's. It's a great start from Niels van der Kelt, and he is in exactly the position he wants to be. Of course, 2 PPR guys taken out, but I say it's got an advantage, SimSport Racing. But if you look at the top 10, there's arguably, there's one SimSport racing man in the form of Rich Smith. All of the rest of them are outside of the top 10, and PPR are certainly getting their stranglehold in the top 10 at the moment, Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. And Sam Spankling on right on top, the top 3. So very happy for him. And I guess SRHI never was with this many at the top 10.
Absolutely,
I'm really proud of them.
There you go. So love the support, very unbiased as always, which you love from the commentary team. But yeah, you can absolutely see they're doing a fantastic job. Of course, yeah, George Boothby currently sitting in in front of Sam Spenkelink, behind Niels van der Kelt, who rounds the first lap of this 75-minute race here at Kyalami. He is currently top of the timing charts. There is a bit of a gap back to Sam Spenkelink, who's under a bit of pressure from Rich Smith and Lucas Rommel. As you see, Rich Smith going a little bit behind him under braking, maybe looking to show him the nose. Sam Spenkelink goes a little bit wide through the Jux K sweep, but manages to cover it off. It's not necessarily the kind of place you're going to make a move, but into barbecue. Rich Smith going up the inside, taking it's a little bit of contact there, and that was a little bit too late and a little bit too daring from Rich Smith there, and unsurprisingly contact between the two of them, and that is going to shift the SSR driver presumably well out of the top 10. Yes. And now I go back on what I said on the first lap, it's now advantage PPR.
Sam did recover from that, still continues.
Yeah, 100%. You see there's a bit of a gap now. You see a SimSport sea of red in the background there as they come through Clubhouse in towards the S's. There's so many of them around. Kieran Vidago, who's not had the best of luck in the last couple of races. I remember seeing him at Bathurst getting all sorts of tangled up in the mountain section with a couple of cars, and don't think he ended up finishing the race. But at the moment, it's still Niels van der Kelt out in the front of this race with George Boothby in very close company with him. A gap of 4 seconds back to Lucas Rommel in the number 14 PPR McLaren. Of course, that would have been courtesy of the coming together between Sam Spenkelink, who's still sitting in 4th, and Rich Smith, who, as far as I can see, Aaron, has disappeared entirely off of our timing tower. So he's dropped right the way down the order, and is paying the pain of making what was arguably a little bit of a naughty move.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, and especially in the first few laps. If you go off track, and you need to save rejoin, and most of the time you enter the back. So tough luck, brave move, but it didn't end well.
Absolutely. You see George Boothby getting up the inside into the Juxk sweep into barbecue. Niels van der Kijl is going to try and hang it around the outside. That's a good move. He's certainly done a fantastic job there, getting the move past the PPR driver and gets himself back into the lead of this race. You see in the bottom corner, you've got Adam Banfield trying to make a move past Yannick Valenduk in the Aston Martin, the SRHI machine. It looks like he's got the move done, but as they come up towards sunset, perspective is doing me dirty there. I thought they were alongside each other, but it looks like Adam's managed to make the move. And at the moment, it is almost running in tandem, where you've got all of the SRH guys nearly in even positions and all the PPRs in odds, apart from the top two. So if George Boothby was still in second place, it would be a very pretty looking top 10, unless you're a SimSport racing fan, of course. You can see the top of them. They've got a big sea of them, from 12th in the form of Regan Mitchell all the way down to 18th, which is currently occupied by Mr. Dave Hedges, or Drifter Dave as he's affectionately known. I'm sure he'll be hoping to keep it in a straight line throughout the rest of this evening.
It's a hard recovery, but everything is manageable. SimSport needs to work together now, get the momentum, and just
absolutely.
play it smartly.
Yeah, I think you're right there. You'd argue they're probably in the best position they need to be, because they're all together. They don't need to do anything silly. They just, like you say, need to work together. It looks like there's been a couple of position changes. I don't know if that's Regan Mitchell just making a mistake. He's dropped down a couple. But like you said, Aaron, they just need to work together and try and get something back up the order. But we have, I can see, lost a couple of people. I can't quite confirm who they were, but there's two people who aren't in the server, so I'm not entirely sure who they would be. But Rich Smith right down towards the back, and Cody Pride, of course, we saw getting caught up with one of the Aston Martins in the form of Chmielewski. They're both a bit further down the order as well. Be interesting to see whether we start to see any early pit stops coming through.
Yeah, well, probably the first pit stop, I would guess, at 45 minutes. The really early ones. And I think the top guys like Boothby and Niels van der Kijl, I know they would like to run as far as they can. Maybe just in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? You know how temperamental the pit stops can be in ACC. If you're even a centimetre, it feels, out of the ideal position of the car when you come into the pit box. Like you say, you can lose a couple of seconds. So it probably is one of those where, like you said, you almost want to run as clean a race as you can. They've got a couple of seconds back to Lucas Rommel at the moment. That gap seems to be kind of sitting at the 4.5 second mark. And if they can keep it at that, I'm sure they will just work together. They know each other very well, of course, from the GT3s at SRHI. I would imagine there's not going to be anything too silly going on there. But yeah, it's going to be a certain one to keep an eye out for, because, like I say, these guys are all going to be doing completely contrasting pit stops. I doubt that anyone is going to have a completely identical pit stop to another person, even when they're in the same car. So the strategies are certainly going to play out. And I still think, although we can see a couple of runaway leaders at the moment in the form of Boothby and van der Kijl, I still think, Aaron, that this is going to go right down to the wire.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like I said, the midfield is to keep an eye on. As expected, the midfield will be close the entire race. George Boothby and Niels van der Kijl, they will take off in a rocket ship, and we will never see them again this race.
That is very true. They've certainly done that so far, haven't they?
Yeah, well, already 5.5 seconds.
It's all right. It's fine. Like you say, we've got plenty of action all the way down the field. I just heard from Chris Hill that one of the SRHI guys is sick, which is why there's one of them missing is Luke Walker. Oh, he's been caught up by the Lamborghini of Dean Riley. So a couple of the SimSport guys sticking their noses, arguably where maybe they shouldn't have gone. But that one looks a little bit more innocuous than the first one. I can't hear him, but I can imagine Steve Proudley, our broadcast director, is very, very disappointed in them at the moment. I won't say angry. Probably just a little bit disappointed with them at the moment, sticking their noses where they probably shouldn't go, and that means that Luke Walker has shifted himself down the order as well.
Well, Steve would...
You see Joe McCauley making his way up. He's currently in 17th, as you see on the timing chart. The timing tower is a little bit behind. You see it shifts up as they go through the sectors, right on the back of Dave Hedges, who goes very wide through Mineshaft. That's going to put him under pressure. Is Joe going to try and do the move around the outside of the crocodiles? Not quite managed it, but the good thing is he has got a friend. Oh, he's caught Dave Hedges coming out in the little kink towards Cheetah. It looked like that was one of those that probably was quite difficult to keep an eye out for. As you hear a dirty boy from Steve Bradley in the chat. He's not particularly impressed, but I would argue that's still 2-1 to SimSport based on what we've seen so far, Aaron.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a hard place to overtake, and he had just too much space. Tend to back it in, but the stewards will review this incident.
Yeah, absolutely, and probably a good point at that stage to stress the point that although we'll try and give you our best assumption as to who's going to be winning the championship this evening, of course, all of the results will be provisional due to some steward reviews. So, and especially given the first couple of laps we've had, so don't read too much into it. However, at the moment, it is certainly going to look like that PPR are going to be taking home the inaugural Clash of the Community Season 1. As you see Luke Walker under some pressure from Aaron Martin Pilkington, and that Lexus is certainly a quick one at the moment as they go through the S's out of Clubhouse. Went around the outside but didn't manage to make the move stick. He's got a couple of rear gunners in the form of, he's got one rear gunner, sorry, in the form of Adam Mizailovic. We see a stop-go 30-second penalty for Cody Pride and the Bentley, so that's presumably going to be for speeding in the pit lane, because you see he's done his pit stop, and that is the worst kind of penalty, because you know, most likely you'll know if you've gone into the pits too quick, and you've just got to sit there, do your pit stop, knowing that is going to come out, and that will have completely ruined his race, won't it?
Yeah, exactly, and he already started out of the pit, so I think he will go for the last spot, because the last spot will give you 1 point, and it could be crucial today. So he really needs to go for it and make the best out of it and just score some points.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, points running from first down to 30th or 28th, I believe. There's the people running out of there. See, I just saw a minute ago Aaron Martin Pilkington making a little nudge on I think that was Luke Walker in the number 11 BMW for PPR. So it's another bit of contact. Certainly no love lost between the PPR and SSR guys this evening. It's Chris Pinchbeck looking to make the move, or sorry, defending at the inside from Joe McCauley in the Honda. That Honda's certainly got some pace around here this evening. Is one of the Ferraris there going across the inside, across the infield. I think it was Adam Banfield. He goes a bit wide and then gets a swarm of SimSport Racing red behind him, very much his rearview mirrors. It's currently two Porsches running line astern, with James Warren very close in the back of SRHI. And Aaron, looking at the way the top 10 is shaking out, I think you guys would probably be hoping from SRHI that this had happened in the first two rounds as well.
Well, it really made us look better if it happened.
And I mean, if you keep going like this, there's a chance of the championship potentially. You
never know. I don't have my calculator beside me, so I don't know. But just score as much points as we can. Chris would say we're just here to have some fun.
Absolutely, yeah. Like you say, it is a friendly championship at the end of the day. So although we're seeing a little bit of nudging and toing and throwing on the track, it is all in good jest, and it's fantastic to see so many quick drivers from these three different communities battling out very, very competitively on this track this evening. Although it is, like I say, although it's a bit of fun and a bit of good competition, it's certainly being fought fiercely, and we're seeing that this evening. You can see Niels van der Kelp has started to drift back a little bit from George Boothby off at the top. There's a 1.5 second gap between the first and second place guys at the moment. Lucas Rommel is falling back into the clutches of, well, these three at the moment. You can see Simon Zimmerman in the 26 Bentley just in the foreground there, and you can see the two Porsches of James Warren and Sem Spenklink, who are starting to close in a little bit. Joris Eveleens and Yannick Valenduk also in for SRHI in the top 10. They're currently running 7th and 8th. And then Dean Riley, the highest running of the SimSport cars in the Lamborghini, is just about in 9th. And then you see that Eric DeBon has dropped down in the PPI, went a little bit wide going through barbecue, and is that Kieran Vidago and Adam Banfield go through, and looks like Simon Wilkes is going to make the move around the outside of Sunset as well. We've mentioned it'd be a brave move if he does it. He's going to have the inside into Clubhouse. He's going to break a little bit later if he can, and he does. And that was a very opportunistic move from the SimSport Racing driver, appropriately summarised by a, what should we say, a moment of passion from Steve Proudly in the director's box, as he was very pleased that he managed to catch that fantastic move on camera.
It was a textbook overtake. Really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, textbook's definitely the way I'd explain. Joe McCauley going around the outside of Lee Kopp on Eric Dubon. He's had a pretty disappointing couple of corners there. He's losing positions hand over fist at the moment, so he's going to have to try and kind of reconvene, get his mindset back together, and get himself back into this. He's falling down, and he's got Regan Mitchell in the 32 SimSport Racing BMW just behind him for close company. So certainly not a good lap for him. And I can see Benjamin Simmers mentioning that by a little nudge he means assassination attempt in the YouTube chat. I'm going to remain impartial, but you're probably not too far wrong, Benjamin. Let's just put it that way. And unbelievably, Aaron, with all this action, we're already 15 minutes into this race, and there's still so much to play for.
Yeah, and what a recovery of Joe McCauley. At the last spot in P1. Misjudged of, I don't know what happened to him in the first corner. Did he miss his braking point, but P13 already. And I really want to know where we will end today.
Yeah, absolutely. He's certainly doing a fantastic job of getting up the order. We can see the roof cam courtesy of broadcaster Steve Crowley as we're following closely behind Simon Wilkes in the 36 Aston Martin. We're going to see if he can make a move. Doesn't elect to do anything into Clubhouse. He's going to stick behind, and it's very much it's one-way traffic as you go through the S's and up towards Lee Kopp. But if he can get a good run out of here, he can certainly try and move. You see Simon going a little bit wide into the first S's, but manages to get it squared back up again for the second apex. And as they go up the hill, I wouldn't necessarily say he's close enough, but we've seen braver moves happen so far this evening, haven't we, Aaron?
Yeah, we definitely had. But Joe McCauley he is a good driver. We know what he's doing, so I don't see him going crazy dive bombing.
That's very true. I've just noticed in the server where these guys have been catching up over the last couple of weeks, I have just seen that Nard Cox has apologised to Adam Chmielski, saying that there's a bit of coming together between them two on the first couple of laps. I wonder if that was what Joe McCauley got caught up in, because as you saw, of course, it was him and Adam Chmielski who both got caught up in what looks to be coming together between the two of them. Perhaps it was Nard who actually set that up in the first place. I'm sure he'll be a little bit worried for the repercussions if it does end up with PPR not winning the championship. Of course, 3 points between PPR and SimSport coming into this race. SimSport on 596 points and then PPR on 593. And I mean, if you look at the point scoring, it's 50 for first, 45 second, 40 for third, and so on and so forth as you work the way down. It's not all in fives. I'm just not going to run through every single point for all 30 drivers, but even one position can completely change the outlook of this championship, can't it?
No, exactly. And I saw a meatball flag, so somebody has some severe damage over here.
Yeah, I wonder who that'll be. I wonder if we'll keep an eye on the timing tower and see who drops into the pits in a minute, because like I say, we saw that black and orange flag, so someone's got some terminal damage they'll need to come in and sort. At the moment, the three at the back of the grid is Cody Pride, Luke Walker and Nard Cox. Well, we said no, Nard Cox isn't in this race anymore. Like I say, we've just seen him talking in the server, so he's not going to be in this. But as you see, James Warren still on the back of Sem Spenkelink. They've kind of dropped back a little bit from Simon Zimmerman in the SRHI Bentley, who he's managed to gap a little bit further, but he's getting much closer to Lucas Rommel in the McLaren 720 ahead of him. So that third place on the podium is certainly up for grabs at the moment.
This is what Simon likes, driving his own race. Sem Spenkelink, well, he needs to watch his mirrors, so it will cost him some time. And James Warren, good to see him on top of the field.
Actually, Joe McCauley going into the pits now, so I don't think it was him who had the damage, but he looks to be going for an early move. As you see, James Warren going around the outside into Crowthorne, and that is going to be a very simple one for Sem Spenkelink. He's just going to go, no, none shall pass there, and he's just going to stop that move from happening. But James Warren's starting to twist the screw a little bit, as you can see, Yannick Valenduk has got a fair few SimSport racing cars behind him, the train of which is headed up by Dean Riley. You've got Kieran Vidago, Adam Banfield and Simon Wilkes behind him as well. Of course, that gap back behind Simon is extended now courtesy of Joe McCauley dropping into the pits to presumably serve his mandatory pit stop. You can still see, Aaron, because of obviously the fact that we're only 15 minutes into this race, that's shifted him right the way down the order, but it's got the potential of giving him some nice clean track to make some moves on. Yeah,
really, just needs to drive his own pace now. You know he's really fast. I'm wondering where he will come out if everybody has pitted. I would believe he will come out somewhere P7 or something if everybody has pitted.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just Aaron Walker mentioned in the chat the black and orange probably is for someone without their lights on, which is a very good point because, of course, getting a little bit darker at the moment. As you can see, Dean Riley doesn't look to have his lights on. So I don't know if he's being flagged as well, but everyone looks to be doing well at the moment. You can see Sem Spenkling as they go through Cheetah into Ingwe for what is going to be coming on to lap number 12. Still got James Warren all over the back of him at the moment. He's certainly not giving him a moment's peace. And yes, from SRHI TV, big shout out to Joris Evelins, who's doing a fantastic job in what they are affectionately calling the lawnmower, which is the Honda. So yeah, you mentioned it was a difficult car to handle, Aaron, and I'm assuming by affectionately known as a lawnmower, probably an appropriate term for it.
Well, some guys in the championship run the lawnmower, and they are quite a few times next to the track in the race, so that's why we call them the lawnmower.
I see. To be fair, we saw Sem Spenkling turning his Porsche into a bit of a lawnmower coming out of barbecue there, getting a little bit of grass on the way out. James Warren got a fantastic run through Clubhouse there. He's not going to make a move through the S's, but he's so close on the back of them. As you can see, this lovely roof cam looking through what is the longest radio antenna I've ever seen on the back of a car. He's not going to be getting any DAB radio in there, that's for sure. But he's got James Warren close for company, and he's to be fair, Aaron, Sem's doing a fantastic job of defending at the moment because that's a lot of pressure that James is putting him under.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Sem knows where he needs to put the car on when he's under pressure, but to get close by somebody, that's one thing, but to get past, that's another thing. And the same cars, the same speed. Maybe James is running a bit more downforce than Sem, so he can't get close in the slipstream. He needs just to be patient and maybe think about the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think,
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. He looks to be running a higher downforce setup because, as you can see, going down the straights, he doesn't seem to be closing up too much. But someone who is closing up is Dean Riley, who is all over the back of the Aston Martin of Yannick Valenduk as he gets alongside through the kink as they go into Crowthorne. Yannick makes a very wide line through into the second corner, and Dean Riley's going to keep the inside rather. That's going to give Kieran Vidago a chance to get nearly alongside through the Jux K sweep. He doesn't manage it on this time, but he's going to look for a send and the move up towards Barbecue. We saw this go wrong with the SimSport driver earlier, but it doesn't look to that time. But a little bit of body checking in the Ferrari, in the Aston Martin. It looks like Kieran Vidago is just about going to make the move as he ran the outside through Sunset. He's going to have the inside line into Clubhouse. This is ridiculous battling from both of those. Yannick Valenduk's going to be looking to try and hold on, but he's just being pushed out to the outside. He's got Adam Banfield there as well. I don't see James Warren looks to have got past Sem Spenkling as well as they go through the S's up towards Lee Cop. So didn't quite catch exactly where it was, but we saw that in the bottom corner, and I'm struggling to keep a track of all this, Aaron. There's battling all over the place.
Well, I'm happy you're commentating because I can't keep up with it.
Simon Wilkes getting a bit out of shape going into Lee Cop there. He's dropped himself down a few positions, and I'd imagine Yannick Valenduk's probably just thinking, I've got a bit of peace and quiet now. I can start to run my own race again, because for the last couple of minutes there, he had a train of drivers behind him, and a few of them got a little bit argy-bargy through there, especially the likes of Kieran Vidago, who got his elbows out, to say the least. Yeah, the only man with peace and quiet at the moment, of course, is George Boothby. You say that, he's got Niels van der Kelt 5.5 seconds behind him, so he's got a fairly decent amount of time behind him at the moment. He's got a clean track in front and he's got a clean track behind. I say that just as I see, I think that's Cody Pride running into the S's in front of him in the foreground, so he's going to have a back marker to contend with shortly, but I don't think he'll be doing too much damage to his race. Do you, Aaron?
No, I don't believe so. The blue fags will help him. Hopefully the back marks will be kind to him. It's an easy track to get past. If you're now at Bathurst, are you on top of the mountain with a back marker? It's kind of annoying, but here is plenty room to give some space.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Sem Spenkeling still not giving up on James Warren. He's still sticking pretty close behind, so it gives us the impression that the gap between them, or sorry, the relative pace between them is fairly small. There's only 2 and a bit tenths behind between them at the moment as they go up towards Leekop once more, and back down the hill you've got Joris Evelins in the Honda just behind, and Chris Pinchbeck is leading a train of a few cars at the moment all the way back to, I think that's Kern Scepter. No, sorry, it's Dave Jr. No, it's Kern Scepter. I'm getting my numbers and names confused. It's Kern Scepter at the back of that train. He's got a few behind him, a little quintet forming at the moment, and he's going to be looking to avoid too much battling from these guys. It goes a little bit wide coming back down the hill, and that looks to give Vervoort the chance to stick his nose in, but he doesn't manage to do anything this time and sticks behind, and they're running line astern into Mineshaft down in towards the Crocodiles. But at the moment, yeah, George Boothby running a race of his own. Niels van der Kelt 6 seconds behind at this point in time. And then there's a big old gap back to Lucas Rommel. But that gap between Rommel and Zimmerman, Aaron, is pretty close. It's within a second. So we could be seeing a change for the final podium position shortly.
Exactly. Well, the Bentley has a strong engine. Maybe you can pass them straight away at turn 1. Just have to wait and see. Simon is a patient guy. He has some good racecraft. So I have no doubt he will pass.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you can clearly see the pace is completely different, to be fair, because the time's been going down over the last couple of laps. Sem Spenkeling just dropping back a little bit from James Warren on the last lap. He's now 8 tenths back, so that gap starting to form, and it will give James a chance potentially to set his sights on the third and fourth position cars that we were just talking about in the moment. But Chris Pinchbeck's still leading this little train through. You got Mark Neutelings in the Bentley just at the back of his shot as well. So if these 4 or 5 do come to blows, it's going to give him a chance to get a couple of positions up the order. Exactly. And we can see, Aaron, that a few people have already started to serve their mandatory pit stops. See Joe McCauley, Cody Pride, and Anna Mizailovic all serving their pit stops. I think probably the one to keep an eye out for, as you mentioned earlier, is going to be Joe McCauley, to see where he shakes out over the next probably 30 minutes or so as everyone else starts to make their stops as well.
Speaking of which, McCauley just set the fastest lap, a 1:46.47, faster than George Boothby at the moment.
Yeah, he's certainly got the time on everyone else, and I think he's definitely benefiting from the fact he's got a good sort of 3/4 of a minute gap ahead of him, so he has got plenty of time to his disposal and plenty of space on track. As you can see, Chris Pinchbeck just about managing to get away as Vervoort and Dave Jr. both dive into the pits, which gives him that breathing room he would have wanted. Dave Hedges under a bit of pressure from the Lamborghini of Kern Scepter as they go through the kink down towards Crowthorne, but probably not close enough to make the move, although he does show Dave the inside. But knowing Dave like I do, that's not going to be the kind of move that he's going to fall foul for. As you see Chris Hill mentioning the fact that it's a fantastic rear splitter camera that we just saw. And of course, all the work from that goes to Steve Proudly in our broadcast directors, Aaron Martin Pilkington, getting a little bit under pressure from Adam Chmielski in the Aston Martin going in towards Clubhouse. Ooh. That's a ballsy move. And he's managed to make it work.
Elbows out.
That was elbows out beyond belief. What a fantastic move that was. It didn't even look like the move was on. He just sent it really late in the day, and amazingly, I think there's probably a little bit of credit towards Aaron there as well, because that could have been a very bad accident, a very big coming together. But amazingly, they've managed to keep it between them, and as a result, Adam's managed to make the move on Aaron.
It was, well, maybe he's a bit lucky. Aaron has some good awareness.
Yeah, very lucky indeed. Like I say, Aaron is one of those. I've spoken to him a few times before. He's the first one to admit he can be a bit passionate, I think was the term he used, probably to be misconstrued with shouty or aggressive perhaps. But yeah, he certainly did a fantastic job of, dare I say, a bit of avoiding action. See Simon Wilkes drops into the pits as well, so that's going to promote Regan Mitchell and Rich Smith up the order a bit as well. That'll probably put him back, looking at where Dave Jr. is, it'll probably put him back to around the early 20s. As Aaron Martin Pilkington going up the inside, he's been overtaken there in fact by, no he hasn't, excuse me, it's Adam Chmielski who's managed to get past Adam Bamfield, and it looked like Aaron Martin Pilkington was trying to be ever the opportunist as well and try and
but he has
make the move. Looks like he's managed to get along. So I've got the roof cameras to go through Sunset. He's going to be going around the outside. We know this has worked before, but he doesn't manage to this time. He elects to hold on, and he's going to fight another day. And I'm just hearing that, oh, very close. Deary me. I am just hearing as well from Aaron Walker in the chat, Aaron, that there's too many Aarons in this, that apparently Dave Hedges does have some damage in that Porsche. So considering he's managing to hold Kern Scepter back, I think it's a pretty admirable job. But at the moment, we're focusing on Aaron Markin Pilkington going at the inside. Oh, that's very close. Contact with Adam Banfield is going to shift him wide a little bit. I don't know if that was actual contact between them, because the roof cam doesn't necessarily give that level of perspective you would hope for. But no flashing of the lights from Adam Banfield, and that is normally a sign, if they are flashing, that that Aaron's maybe done something a little bit naughty. But it looked like Adam just managed to keep it on the black stuff there. He's dropped down a position, but he's now going to have the prime position going onto the main straight onto lap 18 to try and get that move back.
Yeah, but Aaron has the pace. I think he will make a big gap now to Banfield.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Adam Chmielewski to contend with first as well, so it's not going to be all his way. As you see, Joris Everleen's falling back into the clutches of these two SimSport racing cars of Dean Riley and Kieran Vidago in the Lamborghini and Ferrari, respectively, going up towards Barbecue. It's a triplet at the moment. We've got a gap of around about 5 seconds back to Yannick Valenduk, who's dropped back, and you can see Sem Spenkelink in the foreground, but Dean Riley getting a nice run out of Barbecue there. Looked like he had the inside line. He was just shifting across to give Joris the note, just to say, look, I'm here. Don't get too comfortable, because I'm going to be making a move soon. And he was certainly making him aware there. And it's one of those, Aaron, isn't it, where that kind of move, just to put your nose up the inside, can really offsettle your opponent, and can be as good as a send down the inside anyway.
Yeah, well, sometimes it works, but I think the more experienced drivers, it doesn't matter if you do it to them, because they think, yeah, well, go ahead, or you will back out of it. Some guys won't fall for it, but Joris, he's doing a good job. Try to hold him off with Sam. And you just need to stick his car to the right direction and at the right points. So that's all you can do now. He is a sitting duck now, but let him fight for the position.
Absolutely. As you see, ironically, he's a sitting duck, and he's just ducked into the pits, and he's given these guys a bit of clear air to try and haul down Sem Spenkelink, currently sitting in 6th place. But we can see Niels van der Kelt in the number 19 PPR Lamborghini, 7 seconds back off George Boothby now in that number 22 SRHI Ferrari. We did say if he doesn't have any connection issues, he will have the chance to do a really good race, and he's doing that at the moment. Aaron Martin Pilkington very close behind Yannick Valenduk. A little bit of contact there. Aaron goes a little bit deep into Crowthorne, gives Yannick a chance to get the cut back, and I think that was just a case of a little bit of contact going into the braking zone. Maybe Yannick didn't expect to have Aaron so close on his inside, and as a result, Aaron goes a little bit deep, and Yannick makes the move back. But that looks like the kind of position that's going to be up for grabs in a moment. You see Aaron Martin Pilkington very, very close going in towards Sunset. Not the place you want to be really going up the inside, if anywhere, because you're going to be on the outside going into Clubhouse, and he's elected to sit behind. But Adam Banfield and Rich Smith are going to be sitting very, very comfortably and licking their lips behind. You see Kieran Vidago in the corner of your picture has managed to get past Dean Riley. I wonder if that will have been something of team orders between the SSR guys, just to give Kieran a chance to stretch his legs and try and catch up with Sem. So you see an absolute denial from Steve Brownlee in the broadcast booth behind me. Never see team orders, let alone when you've got a championship to fight for as well.
Chmielewski dropping way back. Did he pit?
Chmielewski did pit by the looks of it. Yeah, he's dropped down into 23rd, so he's got that little green marker next to him. Joe McCauley, currently the highest of the running cars who has pitted, which is not unsurprising. I think he was about 13th place when he pitted a fair few laps ago. So again, he's going to be that one to keep an eye out for, especially with the battle that we're keeping an eye on for at the moment, because it probably is around about this point where you'd expect some of these guys to come out for. But of course, as we've seen in the last 3 races in this Clash of Communities, you see Aaron Martin Pilkington going to the outside this time around, Yannick Valenduk into Crowthorne, see if he can try it the other way round. certainly a much cleaner, more respectful move from the two of them. He's got the inside into the Jutske sweep, which is going to be quickly converted to the outside into barbecue, and as a result, Yannick Valenduk manages to hold on to that position for at least another part of the lap. But you see, he's going in towards sunset now. He's not close enough on that one. But yeah, this is probably one of those battles, Aaron, that we're going to have to keep quite a close eye on in terms of the people in the pits as well, because Joe McCauley, like I say, was 13th when he came into the pits. This is the battle going down to 12th. So potentially, we saw how quick he was running when he had a bit of clear air. This could potentially be the position roundabout where Joe McCauley might find himself towards the end of the race.
Yeah, somewhere near this. He's running almost a second faster than this group a lap. If I'm correct, I'm not sure right now.
Certainly looks to be. Yeah, he certainly looks to be quicker, regardless of the time, doesn't he?
But yeah, this group is racing and trying to. Oh, nice pass from Pilkington. Can he manage?
Trying to go around the outside. He is very, very much struggling to try and get past this Aston Martin and Yannick Valenduk, and it wouldn't surprise me if he did eventually drop into the pits and try and get out of the way. But Yannick is doing a fantastic job of placing that Aston Martin exactly where it needs to be. And going back to what you said before, Aaron, he realistically, what he's doing is he's running his own race, isn't he? He's not necessarily being caught up in the fact that he's got people behind him. He's just trying to put the car in the right spots, manage his braking markers, hit the right braking points, and as a result, he's doing a fantastic job of keeping those four behind at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I drove many times behind him, and he really gives you a hard time to pass. Puts the car in the right places and under defense. So I think Pilkington will get frustrated, but I want to know how this will evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see you can feel the frustration coming from that number 31 Lexus at the moment. He's just trying every possible move he can just to put Yannick under as much pressure as possible. But Yannick is like a sponge at the moment. He's soaking up every ounce of pressure that he's been given, and we can see our leader, George Boothby, has come into the pits with just under 40 minutes to go. Our race leader has come into the pits, so he's going to be one to keep an eye out for. I'm sure he'll be expecting for a nice, easy pit stop, and I'm expecting he'll probably drop out around sort of 5th or 6th, I would expect. Again, it's hard to tell exactly what times they're going to do in the pit lane, of course, because, as you mentioned, Aaron, it's a refueling only pit window, so he could put in absolutely nothing and just get into the pits and get back out again, or he could completely refill the tank. So He's come back out. As you see, Aaron Martin Pilkington does then eventually elect to go into the pit lane. Adam Banfield going in behind him as well. I look like Adam Banfield, she got a little bit out of shape coming through Cheetah there, as Rich Smith is then released to give him a chance to try and get past the Aston Martin of Yannick Valenduk. So it's a case of it's almost like a tag team in the SIMSPORT racing drivers at the moment. He gets one out of the way and then gets the other right behind him instead.
I wonder what Valenduk will do. Will he answer to Pilkington if he goes right this lap in the pit, or will he stay out?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye out for. Of course, you'll see as soon as he goes into the pits, as George Boothby's now exited the pit, so he's now sitting in 8th place, just coming through sunset, as you can see on your cameras at the moment. Good timing on the camera shot for that one. So that does promote Niels van der Kokel into the lead of this race. Simon Zimmerman, who did in fact get past Lucas Rommel a couple of laps ago, he is up into 2nd. Rommel, as we mentioned, in third place, with James Warren pretty close behind, but Niels van der Kokel now as well, which is the Adam Banfield, exiting the pits quite a way behind Aaron Martin Pilkington, Aaron, and wonder whether that was any damage that he had to deal with, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe a tyre change. Maybe he was in a spin and had some square tires or something, and yeah, then it's probably the way to go to change tires. But I don't know what it took him.
Yeah, so you see Joe McCauley on camera at the moment. He's the highest man on track at the moment who has cleared his pit stop. So he is very much, apart from Boothby, of course, but he is very much one to keep an eye out for. So Niels van der Kokel, of course, in the pits now as well. He's covering off that pit stop from George Boothby. Lucas Rommel in the pits as well. Regan Mitchell now the highest of those kind of mid-pack, I suppose you call them, to to go into the pits as well. As George Boothby still enters, he promotes himself up into 6th, courtesy of Ron. As you can see, Rich Smith down the outside into Crowthorne around Yannick Valenduk. We've seen that move tried by Aaron Martin Pilkington, didn't work a couple of laps ago, and it looks like again Yannick's managed to hold off once more, and he is putting on arguably one of the strongest defensive drives I've ever seen from any of the drivers in ACC that I've commentated on over the last few months or so, because he's had many different people try, and so far in this battle at least no one's managed to get the better of him, Aaron.
No, like I said, I was behind him and it was frustrating for a whole the race. He knows how to defend, and I know he's enjoying this because he will be laughing right now. But yeah, he does an excellent job.
Yeah, certainly not wanting me to. I wouldn't want to be behind him anyway. And good evening to Curbsy, who's watching the stream. I believe he was one of the PPR guys. So it's Zimmerman, funny enough, PPR. No, SRHI at the top. I've just got the colours mixed up again. Who's currently in first position, but George Boothby will eventually regain that. You have to say, unless he has any sort of issues circumventing any of the guys in front of him. Though he has got a 6-second gap at the moment, so he's still got plenty of time. James Warren in PPR in 2nd place, but he's now gone into the pit. Sam Spenkelink in 3rd, and Kieran Vidago and Dean Riley, both SimSport machines in the top 5, both going into the pits now as well. George Boothby, and then it's the fight on your picture at the moment with Yannick Valenduk, who's still doing an admirable job of defending from now Rich Smith. It was Aaron Martin Pilkington in the first instance, but he's now got a Honda behind him instead of a Lexus. Still not the easiest thing to keep behind, but yeah, I mean, we can't say it enough, can we, Aaron? Yannick is doing a brilliant job of defending, and it surely, I mean, we've seen a few of them do it already. It's just a case of who's going to be the next one to try and move and potentially, dare I say, give up after a couple of corners and just drop back into the pits like the other ones have.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't say it enough. It's frustrating if you know all those guys are quicker than him, but they just can't pass.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, that's the thing, though. It doesn't matter. You could be 5 seconds. Well, maybe not 5 seconds a lap slower. That's probably a bit too much of an exaggeration. But you could be a second or so a lap slower. But if you can defend like he is at the moment, then you are going to keep the position as he is. As you see, Dean Riley trying to go up the inside of Joe McCauley in the Honda. Of course, all these guys have now pitted. So, as expected, and that's a lovely move around the outside. I think that is from Joe McCauley around Dean Riley. It was an interesting move to say the least. It didn't really look like the move was really on. It looked like Dean Riley kind of just shifted and got out of the way, but it means that he's right behind Kieran Vidago in the Ferrari. But I mean, Joe McCauley is on an absolute move at the moment. 2 positions in the space of a few corners, gets one into Crowthorne, and looks like he's going to get Kieran Vidago going into sunset, in towards Clubhouse as well. You can see the sun is very much setting here at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. He's doing a fantastic job of getting his way back up the field, and I'm quite pleased with myself, Aaron, because as you can see, Joe McCauley, yes, he's made a couple of positions up, but he's up into around about the position that you and I expected he would be after the pit stop started to shake out a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't a wild guess. It was just purely professional, calculated.
That's exactly what we're paid to say, isn't it? At the end of the day, we see a Honda going slowly in the back. Got a Honda going slowly in the background. One of the SRHI guys. I don't know exactly who that was, but I would imagine he's probably a lap down. To be fair, at the moment, so nothing to worry about. You can see him at the back of the picture at the moment, just behind Regan Mitchell. So yeah, looking at the time sheets, definitely is a back marker. You can tell though. You see Adam Banfield. Lucas Rommel going very wide through Cheetah there. Seen quite a few people do that so far. It is one of those corners, isn't it, Aaron, that you can catch that. You've got that big old sausage curve on the inside, haven't you? The big yellow one on the inside of the apex. And if you catch that, it just shifts you into the abyss, doesn't it? You just can't you can't control it, and it's one of those, you either go off into the outside or you try and correct it too much. You end up spinning and you're in the wall. So it's not the kind of corner you want to be getting wrong.
You don't want to cut it. Definitely not. You can be an alien for a couple of seconds because you will be launched into space, but it's not what you want.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not the kind of thing you want to be having whatsoever. But at this moment in time, we've got 32 minutes remaining. Simon Zimmerman is your current race leader. Got Sam Spenkelink, who's currently just over 14 seconds behind him, with Boothby our net race leader, currently sitting in third. Yannick Valenduk behind him, closely followed by now Niels van der Kelt. So it looks like Rich Smith has gone into the pits as well. So again, as we mentioned, another driver has given up the ghost on trying to pass Yannick Valenduk and has dropped into the pits.
Yeah, that's a shame because Valenduk needs to stay out right now because he can hold off Niels van der Keukel and give Simon a better chance to stay off to aim for P2.
Absolutely. Oh, bit of contact between Dave Jr. and Adam Chmielewski there. That was one of those moves that just didn't look like it was going to happen, was it? Unfortunately for him, got SRHI and Chris Hill saying we should stop the race now that we know that we've got a top four actually of SRHI guys. I don't think it's enough to win the championship, unfortunately, chaps, but we have got one of SRHI's finest alongside me in the commentary box. So if he had anything to do with it, he'd be, I'm sure, Aaron, you'd be pulling cables out left, right, and centre just to try and set the results as they are at the moment.
Tempting.
Tempting indeed. We're getting bribery from Steve Proudly behind us in the commentary box as well. We definitely won't adhere to that. We will let this race run because we've still got 31 minutes of brilliant action to bring you, I have no doubt, and we'll do our best to get the interviews at the end from the top three and anyone else who fancies it as well. Because I'm sure we'll have some interesting stuff to hear from them at the end of this. But we're riding with Dave Hedges at the moment. Dropped down a little bit because obviously, as we've heard, he had a bit of damage in his first stint, but he's made his pit stop now, as have most drivers, to be fair. I'm only seeing a couple. It looks like De Bon, Scepter are two of the higher ones up that haven't pitted yet. But Dave is doing an admirable job of trying to get past Adam Banfield, who's dropped down the order, and of course Dave Jr., who's dropped down just courtesy of that little coming together between him and Adam Chmielewski into Lee Cop on the last lap. So it's pushed him back into the clutches of Adam Banfield. But Dave is just going to be sitting here at the moment, biding his time, Aaron, and hoping that there's going to be another coming together involving Dave Jr. and he can make his way up a couple of positions.
Yeah, exactly. And we just saw Niels van der Keukel pass Valenduk. That's a shame. He didn't manage to hold him back.
No, he didn't. But like you say, I still think Zimmerman's going to have a chance of getting that. Well, he'll definitely get a podium by the looks of it, barring any mishaps in the pit box. But I think your top two, barring any sort of miraculous scenes that will happen between George Boothby and Niels van der Kelt, may potentially stay as you were. But of course, we've still got a championship on the line at the moment, and at the moment, it's downright impossible to tell who's going to be winning it because the top three are SRHI drivers, and the first man who's not SRHI is Niels van der Kelt, and then you've got obviously De Bon as well, and then Warren. But the midfield, where there's obviously a lot of points up for grabs as well, is kind of being dominated by SimSport Racing to an extent, isn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, you see a lot of red tiles running in the midfield. Good point for grabs over there. We need some fast calculators to know who is the champion this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if anyone fancies doing any calculations for us to figure out who's going to win as we speak, that would be very, very much appreciated. Anthony Terhorst is looking to know who the top five were in qualifying. I'll do my best to round them off the top of my head. So it was George Boothby who was on pole. You had Niels van der Kelt in second. It was Joe McCauley in third, if I remember correctly. And then it was
Sem, I guess.
Sem, and I think it was the other Porsche of
James Warren,
I think, who were the top five, if my memory serves me correctly. Annoyingly, I didn't write them down like I normally do, which is something I've completely forgotten. I haven't got any paper in front of me, which is terrible form for someone commentating on a race. But Sem Spenkelink at the moment has got a Bentley behind him. It's one of the PPR machines. He's not on the lead lap at the moment. It looks like that is going to be the Bentley of, I will tell
Cody
you.
Pride.
Cody Pride, that's the one. Thank you, Aaron. I'm glad you're switched on. At least that makes one. At least that makes one of us. Anthony Terhorst put into quick maths into the chat. Not necessarily what I was after, Anthony, but I appreciate your endeavour anyway, mate. Very helpful to have that sort of brain matter working at the moment. But yeah, Sem is running a quiet race now. Of course, he was very close between him and James Warren, and that's really where he's going to be looking to come out for. But we're riding alongside our current net race leader, George Boothby, who is around about 20 seconds, 16 seconds, sorry, behind Simon Zimmerman. So it's definitely not. I think you mentioned 18 seconds, Aaron. I think you said what it was for the standard deficit to drive through the pits. Of course, they've got to take on fuel as well. So, and as you say that, George Boothby's just gained a miraculous 2.1 seconds, just a small amount on Simon Zimmerman on that last lap. So he's definitely going to be our net race leader. Niels van der Kelt will sit in just behind him. And then we're really waiting for Zimmerman, Spenkelink, Valenduk, De Bon and Scepter to eventually go into the pits to eventually see exactly how this is going to shake out. Because at the moment, I'll be honest, I'm not too sure who's going to be in this top 10.
No, exactly. If you the splash of dash will cost you 26 seconds. So I guess Sam, well, you will fall back right at the back at James Warren, I guess. It's a hard guess for now. Anything can happen.
Absolutely, yeah, and of course, we'll know exactly where everyone fits out when they do eventually go into pit. Still 25 and a bit, just under 26 minutes remaining as Kern Scepter on the back of Eric De Bon at the moment in that Mercedes AMG GT3 car. James Warren, it looks like. No, it's one of the BMWs. That's one of the guys who's a lap down at the moment. Another one of the PPR drivers is a little bit further back, is behind them on track, but a couple of laps behind. That is Luke Walker in the number 11 machine. So this is a fight for position as they go up towards Lee Kopp on lap number 30 at the moment. In fact, lap number 29 for them at the moment, because that lap counter at the top is, of course, based on the fact that Simon Zimmerman has gone on to his 30th lap. So apologies for the confusion there, but these two still need to pit, of course. So it is going to be one of those. I wonder if Kern Scepter's sat there, and you obviously know him probably far better than I do, Aaron. I wonder if he's sitting there thinking, I'll bide my time. If I can make a move, fantastic, and maybe go a bit longer. But if I feel like he's holding me up, I'll just dive into the pits.
Yeah, well, Goodness, my teammate in the endurance races, so I know him quite well.
Definitely know him very well, yeah.
Know him quite well. He's just going as far as he can, I guess. We'll go for the very last 15 minutes. We'll pit and probably go for a splash and dash because he's good on tires.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how these things change over the next couple of laps. And in this last 24 and a half minutes, still plenty to play for, of course. We've still got a championship on the line, of course, between PPR and SSR. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. SRHI could still win, subject to a miracle. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It does need a miracle. They're on 414 points. There's about 180 behind. So if they were able to complete the top 10 and no one else finished the race, I think that would do it. But it seems unlikely at the moment. It's very much a two-horse race going into this final round at Kyalami. We've been blessed with some fantastic action, haven't we, Aaron? Of course, first round was at Bathurst. We had the second round at Misano and the third at Donington, each of which has been selected by members of the relevant community. So it was SimSport from Bathurst. You guys from SRHI picked Misano, of course, and the PPR picked Donington. But we've had some fantastic racing, and we've certainly had plenty of action this evening, haven't we? It's been a fantastic first season of this Clash of Communities.
Yeah, exactly. It's the start of something good, I guess. Myself drove at Mount Panorama. I really enjoyed that race. I hope more seasons will come, and I'm quite sure they will come. And just hoping for more communities to join in.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are watching the stream, and I'll give you 3 things to do. 1, subscribe to the channels that you're watching it on, whether it's SRHI or SimSport Racing. Like the stream if you haven't done already, so make sure you hit that little blue that thumbs up button and make it nice and big and blue. Thirdly, if you are a manager of a community, like Aaron said, the more the merrier. It'd be fantastic to get as many communities into this as possible and make this into a massive event over the next couple of months or so. And I'm sure, based on the quality of racing and the quality of events that we've had over the last 4 weeks, I am very confident we will see a season number 2 in the not so distant future.
No, definitely not. It would be awesome, and more will follow. I'm sure of it.
Absolutely. See Wout Vervoet going a little bit wide there into the first corner, but that is George Boothby behind him, so he's just elected to get out of the way. I was about to say we've caught an interesting mistake from Wout there, but it does look like he's just got out of the way to let to let Dave Jr. To let George Boothby through. Chris Hill's interested apparently, Aaron, but I think he's probably too involved in this already, I'd imagine. Knowing him. Chris here, he says, I'm interested. I manage a community. We'll speak separately, Chris. I think that sounds like a sensible idea, and we'll have some words, because your community is doing a rather good job in this race at the moment. I suppose the pressure's off now, and it gives them a chance to stretch their legs, and it certainly helps, Aaron, like we've mentioned a couple of times, that you have got someone in the form of George Boothby, who we knew was quick anyway, but of course, it's not necessarily something that we've had a lot through the season, because of course has had some technical difficulties, but assuming he can make this last 21 minutes without any issues, he's going to be on for a fairly confident and a fairly consummate race victory.
Yeah, exactly. It will boost the points of SRHI. And it's a shame he didn't finish. Well, did he finish on Misano? I'm not quite sure. So correct me if I'm wrong. But if I'm right, he didn't finish the first 3 races. So it has cost us 150 points. So that's a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a shame in the end. Like you say, it's one of those things, because we are obviously doing sim racing. We can't necessarily manage those sorts of things, which is a bit of a shame. Interestingly, I've just been Dmitry Schenk in the chat has mentioned what's happened to Joris. He has actually disappeared down the stand. I'm not sure if he's dropped into the pit lane. Yeah, he's actually down in 26 places, 2 laps off. So I imagine whether that's a disconnect or something terminal, maybe he's been caught up in an incident or something. But unfortunately, he is still running. Just for whatever reason, had a bit of a rubbish last few laps. It looks like. I'm trying to catch on near Pit Wall Live when he went into the pits. He went into the pits on. He's had a few pit stops actually. He pitted firstly on lap 19, then he pitted on lap 25, and then he had another pit stop after a couple of laps after that. So he's obviously had a couple of issues. Don't know whether that was fueling issues or it was a pit strategy error or anything like that. But unfortunately, he did a fantastic job. Yeah, and he's shifted himself right down the field. Unfortunately, hasn't he, Aaron?
Yeah, it's probably one of his best races he ever had. It's a shame. He really had a good pace, and he really exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, he was certainly doing a fantastic job. So yeah, it's a big shame that he had. He's had some issues. You see him, just so George at puncture at Bathurst. I do remember that, because I remember he was running a good race at that point as well. You see Aaron Martin Pilkington going into the pits as well. He's already done his pit stop, so he's going to be going in for a non-scheduled pit stop. There's only 4 drivers left who haven't pitted at the moment, after Simon Zimmerman did a couple of laps ago. So it's still Sem Spenklik, Yannick Valenduk, Eric de Bon, and Kern Septer, who's at the head of this triplet at the moment. And interestingly, Aaron, one of the members of these triplet is the man in 27th place, which is Luke Walker. He's certainly making his presence known, despite the fact he's a few laps down. And I can't imagine Kern's going to be appreciating that too much.
No, exactly. It's a shame. He really had some pace, so he will be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just going back to George, so yeah, he had a puncture at Bathurst, disconnected after the restart at Misano, and he didn't actually drive last week at Donington. So it looks like of the races he will complete, it looks like he's going to have a 100% win record, which I'm sure he'll be very happy with. Just be a little bit disappointed that he didn't have the chance to complete every single one, but certainly getting some good points on the board for SRHI this evening, and it's looking pretty good for those guys right now. As you see, we've got this wonderful rear split comes. Kern Septer does finally drop himself into the pits with just over 18 minutes left in this race, so he's going to drop himself down the field. That's probably going to put him back to around about the teens, so maybe 12th, 13th place, around Rich Smith and Lucas Rommel, and it gives Eric de Bon a chance to just kind of take a breath for a minute, because he had Kern Septer behind him not too far away for quite a few laps, didn't he?
No, exactly, and he has some free air, but James Rowan is right at his back. Oh, sorry, that's not true. That's the BMW. Well, he finally can get his head down and get those times out.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Adam Banfield under a bit of pressure from Dave Jr., and then that's Aaron Martin Pilkington dropping down the order. Who's behind him as well. bit of contact into Cheetah, Adam Banfield into the wall, and that was Dave Jr. I think. I don't know if he actually went sideways in the end. He has waited for him, which is very sportsmanlike, which you do love to see, but that's given Aaron Martin Pilkington a couple of positions and given Adam Banfield a hefty chunk of paint loss on the right-hand side of that Ferrari. He's Dave Jr.'s been in a couple of incidents in the last couple of laps, and not all of them his fault, but he's certainly not had the best run over the last sort of 10 minutes or so, has he, Aaron?
No, exactly. But do you remember that sausage?
Yes.
It was that sausage. True. Oh, it was the car.
Just to confirm, we're on about the sausage curb. He's not stopped off for a bite to eat in one of the many burger vans I'm sure are frequented around the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. But yes, it is one of those, and like you say, it's just one of them. Racing incident, you probably assume if you did catch that curb, it's one of the, you can't avoid it. It is going to shift you off to the outside. It would be just an unfortunate coming together, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would be an incident anyways.
Exactly. Yeah, you see Joe McCauley now up to 7th, managed to get past James Warren in the Porsche. He's now got, I think that's Dean Riley for close company behind him as well. So this is a train of, I'd argue it's nearly a quartet where you've got Kieran Vidago just in the background of your shot as well, and they are very, very close for company at the moment. James Warren getting very deep. It looked like there does manage to get it stopped by the looks of it. Manages to get it slowed down and into the apex, or just past the apex at Crowthorne. Doesn't go too wide, but it looked like he braked really late going into that corner. Dean Riley certainly trying to twist the screws, the leading SimSport driver at the moment. At this moment in time, I would imagine, Aaron, that it's advantage PPR just based on the way things are, but with De Bon still to pit and of course Dean Riley behind 2 PPR drivers at the moment and Kieran Vidago close in tow as well, still not over yet.
No, it will be a close call. Can't say anything about it right now. Who will be involved?
No, exactly. We don't want to forecast because that's what things go wrong when we forecast what's going to happen. So we'll enjoy these last 15 minutes of action, and we'll try and make an educated assumption towards the end of this race. But one thing we can have an educated guess on and have fairly decent results on is looking like George Boothby is going to be the winner of this race, again subject to any issues. Of course, we know he's had a few of them over the last few weeks. Sem Spenkelink currently running in 2nd place, but he's still to make his mandatory pit stop, so he will shift down the order in due course. Niels van der Kerkelt in a net 2nd, with Yannick Valenduk sitting in 4th. Of course, he's still got to do a pit stop as well. Simon Zimmerman in the number 26 Bentley for SRHI, he will then promote himself into 3rd, you would expect. And then Eric De Bon, who we're very close behind, with Dean Riley going, we're not close behind him, actually he's in the fight above, but Dean Riley going very, very close at the back of James Warren's Porsche there. We've got this wonderful front splitter cam with the Lamborghini. You can hear that Lamborghini engine or Audi engine, whichever one it is absolutely going full chat as they go down the main straight into Crowthorne, getting closer. You can see that gap kind of ebbing and flowing. It's just, obviously, as they come into the apex, getting so much closer as they disappear from it, starting to bridge the gap again. But Dean's certainly keeping a good amount of car lengths behind him, or thereby lack of car lengths. He shows to the inside into Sunset. He's not going to make the move, it doesn't look like, but James goes a little bit sideways into Sunset there. That would have been a scary one for him, especially in that Porsche. We saw, was it Sem Spenkelink in qualifying who was backwards going through Sunset right at the start of the session, and I'm sure James is going to be very pleased with himself that he didn't do the same thing.
No, there's some fast hands.
Yeah, fast hands indeed. You expect him to be a little bit shaky after that one, as you can see now. Wout Vervoort going up the inside of the Bentley and Mark Neutelings into Crowthorne on this lap. He's got Dave Jr. just in front of him, but that is a very clean move from the Lexus driver. Gets himself up into 21st for PPR. It's another advantage going PPR's way at the moment. They've got Cody Pride in close company. I think that is behind them. No, it's not. It's one of the back marks behind them. Apologies. And in your bottom corner of your screen, the lovely picture-in-picture, we can still see that battle between James Warren and Dean Riley, with Kieran Vidago ever closer on the scene at this moment in time.
Cody Pride did quite well for recovery. Started from the pit, added stop and go penalty of 30 seconds.
Of course, yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah. So he's done a fantastic job to get himself back up to where he is. You see Eric De Bon now into the pits as well, so he's dropping himself down the order. So he now leaves us just with 2 people yet to drop into the pits. James Warren still just about holding off Dean Riley, and now with Kieran Vidago very much on the scene as well. You can just see him back a couple of car lengths back as well. And Dean Riley is getting a really good run out of barbecue, but he's just not got the speed to get past James Warren at any other place, really, does he, Aaron? He's got the pace out of some corners, but not necessarily the right ones to make a move stick.
No, I would say that the Lambo has an advantage on the straight on the Porsche, but I think he really needs to make the move into turn 2. It's his best option, I guess. The Porsche will have the agility in those tight corners. Well, going side by side right now. Speaking of which.
Yeah, speaking of which, he tries to go around the outside at Leacock, doesn't quite manage to make the move. Unsurprisingly, James Warren's going to shut the door on him, and he'll live to fight another day. But it's definitely bringing Kieran Vidago very much onto the scene. So it's going to be it is a triplet, effective pretty much immediately as they go into the Crocodiles, down through Mineshaft towards Cheetah now, into the final couple of corners on this lap. We're currently on lap 37, going on to lap 38 for these guys to go into Ingwe, and this looks like Dean Riley's got a pretty good distance between them as they go onto the main straight. He's looking pretty close, and like you say, Aaron, he's definitely going to have the top speed advantage. He's close enough potentially if he can get that toe, but it's all about being close enough going into the final course to get this lovely helicopter cam as they go into the braking zone into Crowthorne. But again, he's just not close enough, is he? He's got the run at the wrong places.
Exactly. And I would say it in Dutch, James Warren isn't a pancake. He knows what he's doing, so it will be a tough job to come past.
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever heard anyone be referred to as a pancake before, so it's certainly a new thing for me, but I quite like it.
It's a saying in Dutch.
I'm gonna trust you on that one. Whatever it is, I'm very impressed indeed. But yeah, he's just Dean just can't get the move. But you see now Regan Mitchell he's got one of the Mercedes behind him, so he's a lap down. He's just got past DeBon. Apologies, just been updated by that from Steve in my ear. So thank you very much for that one, Steve. He's managed to get past Eric DeBon, and he's going to be setting sights up towards Adam Chmielewski if he's got the chance to do so. He's still got a fair bit of time between the two of them, so it's going to be something he's going to need to. He's got 12 seconds, 14 seconds actually, so it's probably going to be the highest he will get to. Hopefully not an unlucky number for him. As you can now see, Spenkelink has now dropped into the pits as well, so that's now one driver left still to pit. We're still waiting for Yannick Ballinger to pit. He's done a fantastic job defending most of this race, Aaron, and he's done a fantastic job of managing to run this Aston Martin's fuel load longer than I ever thought would be possible.
Yeah, well, maybe he's playing with the map and of the engine maps, a bit of fuel saving here and there, but he really needs to go to the pits quite soon now. We only have 9 minutes left.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, like you say, he's very close on the timing tower. Sam Spenkelink very close behind Simon Zimmerman, so we may see a position change in a couple of moments' time between those two. But we're going to keep eyes focused on this battle between James Warren, Dean Riley, and Kieran Vidago. It'll be interesting to see whether the two SimSport drivers do potentially try and chop and change. We've got just under 9 minutes left of this final round in the Clash of Communities here at Kyalami. And yeah, still very, very close between them. Dean Riley looking to go, I think, outside into Sunset. That we've seen a couple of people try that move so far this evening. Again, didn't try it that time, but he certainly gets the run, and he gets the run out of barbecue, but just can't do it into Clubhouse. Still around the outside as Dean Riley eventually gets the door shown to him. And you can see Kieran Vidago is almost sat there going, let me have a go. I want to try and get past him now. Let me try.
It's maybe the way to go right now. I had my chances. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, exactly. I've just had some updated standings come in from Patrick Vonst of SRHI. Again, I cannot stress these are provisional because, of course, we have a couple of incidents throughout this race. But at this moment in time, now I don't know if he's got this literally as of now, because the spreadsheet we've been working with does take a bit of time to fill in. But PPR are currently on 782 points. SRHI are on 610, and then SSR, SimSport Racing, are on 749. So it's very, very much advantage PPR at the moment. But a move change such as the one we've got here, Aaron, where you could potentially see James Warren have a chance of dropping a couple of positions, that shifts that completely, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just one mistake. He's on a lot of pressure. Anything can happen.
Yeah, he's probably got a few people in his ear going, "Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up."
Riley and Vidago needs to work together now and try to get him. Is all that they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I've no doubt they'll be talking to each other. It's all Dean Riley getting a bit sideways through barbecue. I think that's probably around about the point that he's going to let Kieran Vidago maybe switch around and give him the chance to have a go himself. And it looks like he does. Yeah, Kieran Vidago going up into 8th place, and he's now going to set his sights firmly on the back end of that. Number 10 Porsche result. I thought that was James Warren, who was backwards going in towards sunset. Goodness me, as you're coming down the hill, that's not what you want to see. That was the BMW of Luke Walker facing the wrong way. And if that worried me as much as it did then, Aaron, God knows how much worry that would have caused the likes of James, Kieran, and Dean in those 3 cars at the moment. Goodness me, going at 130 on mile an hour, going around that corner. Not what you want to see coming towards you, is it?
And you definitely not expect to see, so maybe a Cole Brown.
Absolutely, yeah. Cole Brown's probably an understatement, to be fair. As you now see, we go on board with Kieran Vidago in that number 33 SIMSPORT Ferrari. He's getting closer and closer to James Warren. It's his chance now to try and put the moves on James, who's done a fantastic defensive display so far in this battle. We've got just under 6 minutes remaining. You see Kieran Vidago using all the curb
right
going
on the
through
limit.
Cheetah. He's absolutely pushing it to the ragged edge as they go onto the main straight into lap number 41. So yeah, Code Brown is very much being agreed with in the chat, but he's not quite got the toe on him at the moment. He's just going to look to the inside just to again give James Warren that little nudge. I am here. Just to keep you reminded that it's not my teammate anymore. It's my turn now, and he's gonna be. I mean, he's not got too much time as he only. He's gonna have to try and make some sort of move soon, or at least get a little bit closer if he wants to try and give any sort of position or any sort of positional benefit towards himself.
The stress will be much higher now, especially 5 minutes remaining. The drivers will think, "I need to get past. So they need to hold their composure and wait for the right moment. They are faster, so wait for the right moment.
Yeah, absolutely. As you see, we're riding alongside current race leader George Boothby, who is still putting in very, very quick laps. It has to be said, he was 0.4 of a second quicker than Niels van der Koekel on the last lap. He's got a 30-second gap at his disposal, and all he's really got to do now is just circumnavigate these back markers, which he looks to be doing well enough. I think that's Kern Scepter just in front of him, and of course, being in the same community, he should find himself getting out of the way very quickly indeed, and that is the AMG Mercedes of Eric de Bon just ahead of him as well. So he's not got too much in the terms of difficult back markers to get past. There is a couple of them battling, but they're not really close enough to do any real damage. As you can see in the corner of your picture, James Warren still holding off the Ferrari of Kieran Vidago in the number 33 machine. Gets a good run, it looks like, out of Ingwe, a little bit sideways as he goes onto that outside curb. He's not necessarily going to be close enough again, but this is, I mean, I know you're probably going to be very complimentary of him anyway, but what a fantastic race George Boothby's run, Aaron. He's been absolutely faultless the entire way through, hasn't he?
A league at his own. Great respect for him. It's still a mystery for me how he does it.
Sorry, Aaron Martin Pilkington, the other Aaron, one of the many Aarons who's watching and driving this evening, managed to get the inside of Kern Scepter into Ingwe, puts himself up into 15th place. That is an extra point. We've got points incoming, according to Anthony Terhorst. But that the points I gave you a few minutes ago were at the point of lap 38. So with 3 minutes remaining, so we're looking at, depending on where George Boothby is, he's just ahead of us at the moment, we're probably looking at 2, maybe 3 laps at a push left, Aaron. It's looking like it's PPR's race to win, but a championship to win rather. But see, like we say, we've seen one SimSport racing man make a move in the form of Aaron Martin Pilkington, and like we say, James Warren is probably the man who is under an immense amount of pressure at the moment. He's probably got a few people in his ear going, "Do not mess this up."
No. Yeah, well, some people, some drivers will can cope with much pressure, and James Warren is one of them. He just needs to get his head down and don't look too much at his mirrors. Just go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. The relative and the mirrors are the two things you don't want. You almost want the ability if you could pause the sim at the moment and switch off that rear view mirror. I'm sure he'd be doing that right now. If I was in his position, I probably would have had the relative switched off for a while already. Of course, one thing we do need to consider still is the fact that Yannick Valenduk still hasn't gone into the pits. I hope he knows he still needs to do it. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll have had the relevant notifications. You see, funnily enough, just I've said that Chris Hill's mentioned in the chat, has anyone told Yannick there's a mandatory pit stop? I mean, I'm hoping someone has. I'm hoping he's aware of it. He should have seen the fact there's a little number 1 next to him. And if I'm not mistaken, you see Anthony Tehorst is the same as well. So everyone's telling us to tell him. I'm not sure if he can hear us, but he's not got too long left, and he's going to be slapped with a mighty old penalty if he doesn't pit, isn't he?
Well, he needs to come in this lap now, or else we have a little bit of problem.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully he's just leaving it really, really late and he'll just drop into the pits in a minute. But what I was going to mention from that is that's presumably going to promote a fair few of these guys, potentially the ones on screen at the moment, up a couple of positions. It may not actually, considering how much he's going to need to put to fuel for. He could be in and out within 22, 23 seconds. So he might just have enough of a gap to make that move. And you can see he's better late than never. He left it late, but he has finally dropped into the pits. At the moment, I have got another update on the scores to show you with 2 minutes left. This is from a minute ago. At the moment, of course, this will change courtesy of Yannick dropping into the pit lane as we go on. We're on the final lap with George Boothby now. We might have another lap, actually. I'm just hearing. We're hearing he crossed the line 1 minute 50. So unless he's been very, very slow on this lap, which he certainly has the ability to do so because he's got plenty of time ahead and behind him. We could be on for another lap as well. And he's only half a second down at the moment, so he's certainly not holding off, Aaron. It's going to be one more lap after this. But as we stand, PPR have extended that gap at the top of the standings. They've now got 826 points to SSR's 751. And then SRHI have dropped a couple, of course, with Kern Scepter being passed by Aaron Martin Pilkington, and they're down to 606. But as we go on to the final lap here at Kyalami, it is George Boothby's race to lose. He's been at the front 99% of the time. I say 99% because he was pipped by Niels van der Kelt as he crossed the line to start this race. Sat behind him for a couple of laps, but as soon as he got past him, Aaron, he was comfortable, wasn't he? He just disappeared off into the distance, ran a race of his own, which is one thing you said he would have wanted to do, and he has been unbeatable in that Ferrari this evening.
He just delivers right now, and because of extra lap, I hope some people did the calculation right on the fuel, because otherwise they have a little bit of a problem right now.
Yeah, hopefully we've not got anyone sat there being very annoyed with them going, oh, why didn't George just slow it down on that start-finish straight? And we can hear from Steve in the background saying he's hoping all the PPR guys run out of fuel. I would never want anything like that to happen. We're very, very unbiased, and I can promise you we didn't actually say that. I'm only messing with you. But it is going to be George Boothby. He's going to run in. Kieran Fidalgo going, oh, he's looking at the inside of James Warren going into Ingwe as they now go on to the final lap. He's got the run looking like he's coming out of Ingwe, so he's got a fantastic chance to get the move done here. I'm sure what he'll be hoping to do is he hopes to get the inside of James and then maybe just give him a little bit of a nudge and let Dean Riley come through as well. But James covers the inside. If Kieran's looking to go around the outside, he's not going to make that move stick, though. He's never going to get that done. As we can see in the bottom corner of our picture, George Boothby, the man who's been untouchable from pretty much start to finish by in the first lap or two, rounds Ingwe for the final time, finally gets the chance to complete the race. And as a result, he is going to be our winner for round 4 here at Kyalami. Niels van der Kelt on your screen now is going to come through in second place for PPR and what looks to be the final race, which will clinch PPR the championship based on the standings as they are. Simon Zimmerman is going to be coming through just about in third place ahead of Sem Spenkelink, with Joe McCauley, James Warren. Well, I say Joe McCauley is probably the final one whose position I can definitely confirm for the time being. As you can see, Niels van der Kelt coming across the line to finish that second place. But we're up at the top of the hill in the picture-in-picture. Kieran Fidalgo still looking to make a move on James Warren, but he's not very close. They go down into Mineshaft. So he's probably going to be as you were. And I mean, that was a fantastic race, wasn't it, Aaron? I mean, we've had plenty of action all the way through. Like I say, it looks like PPR are taking the championship. Of course, the results are all provisional, but I can't see any of those
What a
reviews
recovery.
making a massive amount of changes. But yeah, what a fantastic race, some brilliant recovery drives, but action from start to finish, wasn't it?
We had it all today. This end.
Yeah.
Great recoveries, great overtakes, some opportunistic overtakes, but it was a good race. I really enjoyed watching it today.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic race overall. So George Boothby in the end does take that victory ahead of Niels van der Kelt and Simon Zimmerman, who rounds out the podium. Sam Spenkelink, Joe McCauley, James Warren, Dean Riley came across ahead of Kieran Vidago in the end. Does look like they went and did that little kind of reverse switch at the end, which is quite nice to see. So it gave Kieran the chance to have a move, but when he didn't get it done, they've dropped back into the same positions. Yannick Valenduk came back through in 9th place after that very, very late pit stop. And Rich Smith rounds out the top 10. And like you say, Aaron, that was an absolutely fantastic race. And it's really a bit of a shame that this series has to end, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really a shame. We hope in the future for more races because it's really entertaining and it's nice to see which community delivers which driver, and it's a beginning of something big.
Absolutely, yeah. It should be a fantastic one. And yeah, really, really good race to cap things off. Of course, we went to Bathurst for the first one. We went to Misano for the second, Donington last week, and this final one, which was a combination of everyone's IGC highlights. You see a couple of people facing the wrong way there, but it was an agreement of all of the communities to race at Kyalami, and it's certainly not disappointed, and it's been a fantastic season. And it looks like I say, that PPR are going to be coming away with the trophy this evening. We've got a couple of the guys in the interview room, which we will drop into to do that for you now. So we'll be able to chat with a couple of the top through back with you in just a second.
So awful.
Yeah. Nah, that was a god setup. I need to send you that. Oh, hey, oh.
Hey guys.
Perhaps congratulations, George. We'll come to you first, buddy. I think I heard you say just before then that setup was rather good, to say the least.
A little bit.
Let's put it bluntly. You've not had the best of times in the first 3 races. Well, of course, I know you weren't at Donington last week, but it must be quite nice to get through a race unscathed and take home what was in the end a very, very comfortable victory, wasn't it? How was it from your perspective?
I was a bit worried coming into this one because, like, at Spa, I just screwed up really bad. I got a puncture. I've never had that before, so I should have done a bit of testing and messed with my setup there. And then Misano, I unfortunately disconnected at the start, so that one hurt a bit. And yeah, this race, going against Joe McCauley in the Honda and Niels in the Lambo, I was a bit nervous because those cars are good here, and Porsche as well. But I tried this setup. I had this setup that was undrivable last week. I thought I'd just put it on for a laugh to see how it was, and it was amazing. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know where it came from, and I just had loads of pace, and that was the best pace I've ever had around here. So I'm happy.
I'd say that was the understatement of the century, to be honest. You absolutely bossed it from start to finish. How I say from start to finish. Obviously, Niels got past you just off the start finish line. I don't know if you were a little bit slow off the line. Maybe you got the speed wrong off the line. But you mentioned there that you were a little bit nervous of the Lamborghini. When Niels obviously got the position into the first couple of corners and led for the first few laps, were you expecting that the race would finish in the way that it did with the 30, 40 odd second gap, or were you expecting that was going to be something you were going to have to deal with through the entirety of that race? Because it was certainly the end didn't necessarily confirm to the start, did it? Based on where you were.
Yeah, starting out, I had Niels and Joe right on me. So going into turn 1, I feel like I got the start well, but the Lambo I don't know if he was just running a little bit less wing than me, but he just drove away on the straight. So I was expecting Joe to get up the inside, but I think there was an incident. I'm not quite sure what happened. I'll have to look at the replay. And then I stuck behind Niels, and I just noticed he was sliding a bit, maybe obviously trying to get up the temperature of the tires and everything. And I just managed to take advantage of that on one of the first few laps and just like slide up the inside, and both left each other loads of room. So it was nice. It was a good little battle.
Absolutely, it's definitely good from our one. You won't see too much of yourself on the broadcast, of course, because you're in a race of your own to a certain extent. But it was, yeah. I mean, look, it's been a fantastic race, and like you say, it's been fantastic to get you the chance to finish a race without any issues beyond your control. And congratulations, you drove a fantastic race. Well done.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, Niels, we'll come to you, buddy. Like I say, you got a fantastic run off the start line into the first corner. What was your what were the thoughts running through your head at that point? Obviously, you were about a tenth or so behind in qualifying back to George. Were you thinking at that point that you'd be able to try and drive away with it, or is it just a case of managing that race and try and keep him behind as long as you can?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I kind of underestimated the Lambo. I think it's been like, I'd say 7 or 8 months since I've actually driven it. So I was quite surprised with the pace I had, like the pace with fuel in as well. It was incredible. I think it was actually a little bit faster than George's, but it was just sliding everywhere. I couldn't get a grip on it at all, and it completely ruined the tires as well. And honestly, as soon as the tires went off, I just dropped a second. It wasn't even a gradual drop off. It was just a second. And then, as the fuel load decreased, I slowly regained a little bit of pace again. But yeah, it was. I don't think I would have ever won the race, even if I didn't bin it in that second stint. I don't think I would have won it anyway. But because it was just too inconsistent. Just too inexperienced with the car, I think, and setting it up correctly. But it had some incredible one lap pace. That is for sure. It was quite eventful to drive. It was enjoyable, but quite eventful. Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, well, we'll review the standings fully after this, but it looks to be provisionally, at least, that you're on the winning community. So that must be a win in itself, even if you weren't able to win the race this evening. Are you happy for everyone? Team effort.
Yeah, let's go PPR.
Nice.
No, that's great. I think we've had a pretty good championship. Even with me not being there last week, and Cody unfortunately disconnecting or DNFing, I'm not even sure. But I think we've had a pretty good overall championship, and there were some rough battles being fought out in the midfield, as I've heard. But for me, honestly, it's been a breeze. I've really enjoyed myself this championship.
Absolutely, and like you say, it's been a fantastic championship to watch and to race in. If you had to pick of the 4 that you've been in, favorite race?
Well, I've only been in 3. That's the issue. I think it might have been Donington if I was there, but I'd go. It's hard really, because at Bathurst, right? I won it, but that was only because George disqualified or disconnected. I think, like he had those issues with his wheel, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a puncher in that one.
Yeah, and then Mizano was more fun in terms of racing people, but the result wasn't really good. So I'm gonna go for Bathurst because it's my only win this championship.
Absolutely, you've got to pick the win, haven't you? Well, look, Niels, fantastic work for you, buddy. Especially given what you've just mentioned there, it sounds like the Lambo was a handful, to say the least. But fantastic work, buddy, and well done again on the win for the championship of PPR, at least provisionally. But I mean, I'm sure you'll be celebrating long into the night, regardless.
Yeah. We're gonna have a big party now. So thank you to you guys as well for hosting this event and broadcasting it the way you did. I really appreciate it. So you did an amazing job, guys.
Thank you very much. Well, congratulations both. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and hopefully we'll catch you for season 2 in the future.
All right, take care, lads.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. 4 races, 4 brilliant rounds of this Clash of Communities this year, this time out. So season number 1 in the books now, and it looks as though, I'll say provisionally, I have to make that clear, that it is a a win for PPR. So if we look at, if I bring to you the latest stats as of the end of the race, SRHI ending the championship on 606 points, SSR bringing it home with 755 points, and PPR bringing home the championship with 789. Aaron, it's been a fantastic 4 weeks of action. Give us your thoughts before we sign off.
Well, I got nothing to say. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. It was a great season, and let's get back for more.
Couldn't put it better myself. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Aaron. On behalf of Aaron and myself, my name's been David Wrestle. Thank you ever so much to everyone who's been watching, and big thank you to Aaron for joining me, and of course Steve, proudly for being our fantastic broadcast director this evening and keeping us abreast of all of the incredible action we've had over the last 4 weeks. This has been the Clash of the Communities. This has been season 1, and I'm hoping we'll be able to see you very soon for season number 2. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening, stay safe, and we'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.